massive reworks to STARJAMMERs. As you know, they weren't working right. Would you agree they just weren't working right?
Yeah, so well, they weren't because Hank's passive was like breaking the game when he was in the fifth slot. And then there was parts of their kit that were very, very finicky, especially like Howard the Duck's anti-speed bar passive. Like, did it happen before he took his turn, but like when it became his turn? And all kinds of questions are being answered. And then just like a huge lack of damage and ability to deal with certain mechanics like early on-spawn buffs that you would hope the team didn't struggle with.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and then they were getting wiped by like Hive Mind, Super Scroll, and not being able to beat S6. I mean, there was all kinds of weird like edge cases where they just were not. All right, so we're gonna read it. There's a lot of stuff in here. This is a little bit more than I expected, actually. A lot more than I expected. Let's just read it. Commanders, after reviewing community feedback and internal data from the STARJAMMER's performance during the most recent Cosmic Crucible, it's clear they are not hitting their combat goals. I think everybody agrees on that. I don't think that was up for debate. Just how they were going to fix it and how much they were going to do. This was the main issue, I think, right here. Havoc's passive speed mechanic was too inconsistent and difficult to predict, so we retuned it to give a static amount of speed per STARJAMMER ally. We also updated Havoc's ultimate to clear positive effects and charge. So the first part was mostly an Illuminati problem, and the placement of Hank made the team erratic. Either they got wiped and never took a turn, or vice versa. It was really all over the place, right? And I just feel like that was too complicated for them to fix, so they just did this. And so this is kind of like a Band-Aid solution. Would you say that's accurate? It's like a Band-Aid solution to the problem with, order of operations on passives?
Yeah, it definitely is something to do with a character that is providing the barrier. Like, I half wonder if whichever character on Immortal gives the barrier to that team, if that character was in the fifth position, if that was going to break things as well, and then Immortal would have beat them, right? So it seems like this is probably the easiest way to fix whatever that hiccup was.
Right.
It will introduce a further power creep that whatever team they release to beat STARJAMMERs is now going to have to fill, right? They're going to have to fill in that Emma Frost X-Men tag, which originally I would think that that's absolutely horrible. But if they start hiding like those really, really powerful speed manipulation tactics around like having 4 or 5 characters, then it's not nearly as bad, because then we don't have to worry about like that crazy speed stuff also being joined with a character like Odin or Mephisto or Professor X by that time.
All right, to give context of what we're talking about here, we're specifically talking about like what Man-Thing does to Night Stalkers, what Nimrod does to Orcus. And this is this is different than Turn Meter game. This is actually upping the speed of the team, which right now can only be countered by the new Emma. All right. And then we'll talk about what this Havoc ultimate to clear positive effects charge. I think it's kind of just there for Black Knight, but we'll keep going. Howard the Duck.
Agreed.
Anti-speed bar manipulation is a powerful mechanic, but since it turned off after he took a turn, it allowed some older teams and characters, we're looking at you, Super Scroll, to turn the tide and win. And there were bunches of examples of things like that happening, like Super Scroll Hive Mind that's an old-ish team, right? I don't know if do we consider Super Scroll old at this point? I don't know how. I guess I don't know. I feel like he's still pretty important in a lot of situations, right? I don't think he's done or anything like that, right?
No, I remember when Doom used to be the rage, and we'd throw him in with a bunch of different characters, whether it be with Red Hulk or with Star-Lord, and we found ways to just get Doom to pop. It seems like Super Skrull is kind of in that phase right now, where he's still enjoying relevance, but he's twilighting for sure.
Right.
This was really interesting, right? Because the whole issue here is that Howard went second on the team.
Right.
So when Howard went second, all of a sudden, like, Rocket gives out 5 offense ups and his attacks call in debuffs. And so enemy Super Skrulls were just like, okay, bet, like, Howard's passive turned off now. Here's 60% speed bar. Now I'm going to rewind you. And so, like, Hive Mind Skrull was being the team. There's a little bit of user error there, but it just probably shouldn't exist with a team that they say is, hey, like, this is the new Crucible go-to team.
Okay, so this anti-speed manipulation here is different than what we talked about before, where that's actually like increasing the speed of the team. Speed bar manipulation is turn meter gain. So that is very similar to Captain Britain. A lot of people are familiar with Captain Britain does in Crucible. There's other characters like Zombie Scarlet Witch does it inside of Alliance War. I guess Immortals do it in Crucible, and then there's somebody Mighty do it in. So this is a thing, right? Because this kind of shuts down Super Scroll. This shuts down Apocalypse from going, Ultimate into Super Punch. So this is very important. But they place some stipulations on it that make it not as bonkers as Captain Britain, because Captain Britain's more or less plug and play. All right, Lilandra's ultimate was extremely powerful, but it was still a standard clear that was gated by her needing to be in Crucible, which they kept, and requiring multiple Starjammer allies, which they also kept. We updated her ultimate to clear to be a positive effect duration reduction instead, which is like Endgame Thanos, which provides a big power boost in matchups when Safeguard is preventing you from clearing negative effects. When I first read this, it's like, oh my God, they just made like Endgame Thanos 2. I thought they were getting rid of the need of Crucible and multiple Starjammers. Like, wow, they just gave away, which would have been cool. But no, this is still Crucible. This is still multiple. I think she's got to have 3 allies, so still a 4-man for this to work. And removing positive effects and getting rid of Safeguard is way better than getting rid of trauma, right? I mean, the in-game Thanos is like bonkers. So this is a bonkers thing, right? I mean, it's Safeguards everywhere at this point.
Yeah, to your first point, I still think this team is garbage outside of Crucible. I just skimmed the changes. They didn't change it at all. But I think this was actually their biggest miss on this rework. I think the biggest issue with the team, honestly, is especially from people that cord to get the unlock or have them at 3 or 4 stars, is that this team, unlike other teams we've had in the past, is hitting into the enemy's buffs. You're hitting into defense up. You're hitting into deflex. Havoc special, it does not ignore defense up. It is not piercing damage. Same with Howard. He's hitting into deflex, hitting into defense up. Same with Rocket. So Lilandra is so far down the chain that by the time she flips the buffs, it's like, okay, it's Groot's turn now.
But if she flips the buff and does damage, I've seen like footage of 7/7s. It is pretty impactful, right? Anyway, we're gonna have her. I mean, you could get a 7/7 over time free to play, right? As long as you're engaged and doing all the stuff. I mean, this is gonna strip everything away and then explode. I mean, I hear what you're saying about Howard and Havoc, still like hitting into Safeguard defense up. But that's gonna be a thing, right?
Yeah, so a big thing I think the community is struggling with here is that every team released since Annihilators basically has had a character that immediately loads the enemy up with debuffs. Scientist Supreme immediately gives defense down. Blade ignores defense up, and then Moon Knight strips the buffs away. So like all the damage is being negated. Shadow King, he flips buffs before he does his attack. Scarlet Witch is stripping defense up before the real damage team comes. Storm rips all buffs off at the very first moment of the game. I do think that this team, the newer characters, are the heart and soul of the damage. And I think some players are still going to be shocked when their Starjammers are not instantly walking over things with these changes, but I could be wrong. I mean, I think Lilandra's big miss is her speed stat. I think she should have been higher up on the totem pole.
Well, they were embarrassing before. We'll see. I don't think they're going to be embarrassing anymore. They were embarrassing. Okay, so let's go over it. That's not all the changes, but those are the big changes, and there are some smaller changes. Quite simply, Havoc special, more damage, not a big deal. The ultimate on Havoc, clear all positive effects and charge on primary target. I see that as being a kind of an anti-Black Knight mechanic. You think of any other situations? Because it's not a clear charge everywhere, just primary target. Where is that going to be the most useful outside of Black Knight?
Yeah, so it depends where the positive effect strip comes from, right? If it comes from before the damage, then, well, it hits their defense up anyway, the ultimate, so I guess it's fine. It definitely cries like a Black Knight counter. We'd have to see how the focus resist checks work between those two characters, since Black Knight does get the 1000% resist. But yeah, it's to strip off taunts. It's to strip off taunts and to get rid of charges on Black Knight, which will be interesting though, because if you strip the charges off Black Knight, he gets 100% turn bar, but I guess he won't now that they changed Howard. So there you go.
Yeah, we won't have charge. Well, anyways, he's kind of useless after that though. I mean, in some ways. Okay, so passive. So he had the ping. The ping is going up to 300% from. He's going up to 300% from 200%, and then So that's meaningful. In Crucible, this character and all Starjammer allies gain, 5% speed for each Starjammer ally up to a maximum of 20% speed. So this is just getting around the whole barrier thing, which wasn't working right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a Band-Aid fix. I mean, I wonder if they're gonna address some of these order of operations and team placement issues, or at least give us some guidance on how they work. Like, they never really addressed the Taskmaster one. We just had to learn to put Taskmaster, in the far corner for it to work, right?
That magical spot 5 in the far left corner. And same with Vulture, right? Vulture's drain.
Yep.
So some of the tricks of the trade.
It's funny. It's like I just got in a habit of moving Vulture all the way over to the far left, right? When you're loading it up.
Yeah.
It's just like, and then someone's like, I think they fixed that. It's like, I don't know. I just do it because I know it doesn't work otherwise, right? I tested that at Link. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of weird. Anyways, for the you must know, Vulture far left, Taskmaster far left, right? Anyways. Howard the Duck. Okay, so special, clear 2 positive effects on each enemy. I don't know if that's gonna matter a lot. Almost everybody has safeguard that's important right now.
Yeah. Well, he kind of wants the ult too, doesn't he? Because it gives trauma and ability block.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting to put that up there, I suppose.
Yeah, I wonder what the thinking was that, because I was looking at that, I was like, I can't, it's not obvious what that does. Okay, so here's the part that part of me likes this, part of me is like, oh, okay, at least you're not gonna be able to put Odin on this team. That's how I read this. In Crucible, before this character takes a turn, this is the way it was. Speed bar cannot be filled or reduced by any enemy for themselves, allies, or enemies. This does not apply to speed bar gain through normal means. You talked about how Super Scroll just ran over this. If this character has 4 or more Starjammer allies, so full team, and does not have exhausted, so this provides an opportunity to sack the team, this effect persists after this character takes a turn. I feel like this is somewhat reasonable.
It is, especially if you're putting it behind the tag of the whole team. So this is the same thing as you said earlier. Mighty Avengers and Mortal X-Men, they do this exact same thing, but you need the entire team to do it. And that makes it so you can make these like monstrous hybrids, which some people are actually going to be a little bit bummed out about. They want to put the best team with one of those characters to make a mega team, right? Like you, I just don't love having to deal with that for like a year. Right. If these speed mechanics dictate how games like these play out, right?
Yeah.
The speed is king in a mobile game.
Yeah.
In a strategy game. So it's these like super powerful speed mechanics should be gated in some way, shape, or form so it doesn't get out of control. And I think it's an elegant enough solution for my books anyway. And then Howard can still be used as a plug and play character to say stop a turn or on spawn speed bar from like a Kahori or from the enemy Starjammer team, which is going to be part of their counter.
Yeah, and yet this doesn't create an Odin Illuminati on defense thing, like an Odin Starjammers problem, which I just, come on, I just don't want to deal with that anymore. Okay, Lilandra, I don't know how to say it. Anyways, updating Crucible, so they didn't get rid of the Crucible thing, and this is on the ultimate. If this character has 3 or more Starjammer allies, so it's still got to be, 4-piece, right? Reduce the duration of all positive effects by 2 for each enemy. Very, very, very powerful mechanic. Gets rid of safeguard. Any positive effect that has a duration of 0 expires instantly, including safeguard. And this actually kind of tees it up for, Rocket to come right after in some ways, right?
No, Rocket goes before she goes.
What?
Yeah.
She goes
that's why I said like.
Oh yeah! God. Oh my
That's
God!
Why I was saying like
so she's gonna. The only person that's going is okay because I knew. All right, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then Rocket's
still cool.
Rocket's still specialing into like 5 death proofs in safeguard defense up and tickling them, right? I mean, okay. Okay.
Because what you thought was going to happen is what I think should happen. Like, I think the characters like Lady Deathstrike, like Agatha, that kind of made these teams super exciting when they first came out for people that got the newer characters at lower star levels until they got them at higher star levels. Like, having that ability where you can use Rocket to instantly delete somebody, I think would make the team more fun, more appealing, and more interesting. But the changes that they made, there's definitely a lot here. So I think it's going to make the team probably 2 times better than what they were performing wise.
Oh yeah. But this is not going to, Yeah, okay. I see exactly what's
Doesn't
going to
help
happen.
the
So
damage.
you're going to, this is going to be, she's deleting the team or not, and then Groot's not going to do anything. I mean, his special does something, but you're probably going to do the
Yeah.
ultimate if you're in trouble, right? And then you're going to be waiting around until Havoc comes, and you're still waiting around for some big damage, right? Gladiator, which was largely irrelevant, kind of like Wong. I kind of thought that would happen, so they're boosting the health by 20%, right?
But they did it wrong. I don't understand. So Wong summons in for Strange, and he has very low turn bar. So the Wong never gets a turn. Right, so that's Wong's issue. He doesn't get to taunt. Gladiator spawns in with like 80% turn bar, so he immediately drops his taunt, and then his special does absolutely no damage. And before Howard's thing was fixed, he was flipping debuffs for a character like Super Skrull to get even more speed bar and come at you. Like Gladiator was like, oh, what is the Gladiator summon was horrible.
Yeah, well, that should be better. But anyways, Groot.
Yeah.
So this is the anti-assist mechanic, kind of like Black Panther Shuri, which was contingent on him. I don't know if this matters too much. I'm surprised they even bothered to do this, but they got rid of the stripping away of this effect at 40% or below. What are they afraid of? Like a Mephisto ping or something? I'm trying to figure out why they get rid of this.
Yeah, maybe some sort of like super early damage. Maybe with overpowered coming to the game, they were worried Groot could get blown over and drop below 40% super fast. That could be it.
Yeah, because I think that's what we're trying to do with Gladiator and Arena is Mephisto pinging him down below 50% really early so that he doesn't have that anti speed bar gain thing like we've been talking about. We'll have to see a couple things. They said this won't go until next week, right? And I'm guessing this will be live for the next round of Crucible. It looks like they extended the season. It's uncertain to us whether or not this is going to be in effect for the Crucible tournament. We'll find out here shortly, which is going to be on Thursday. Are you pumped?
I'm pumped. It's, I think, Wednesday, and I think it is part of the tournament. I think we can confirm that.
It's Wednesday? Oh, God.
I think so.
Oh, my God. I got all my days wrong. Boy, I would have missed it.
The trip to LA got me going crazy.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I feel like it. All right. Yeah. All right. So the biggest thing I learned from this video is that Rocket goes after Lilandra or before Lilandra, which is unfortunate. I'm muddled. I had all kinds of problems with this. I don't know if you saw. I lost against S6. Like it was, I was like, and then I replayed it and I got through it, but still, it's like, how did that happen, right?
It all comes down to Howard because Howard goes second on the team and he's hitting all kinds of buffs. He doesn't really do much, especially if you have him at not diamond level, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, speed bar's back on the table. So I watched your fight, and exactly what happened to you happened to me. I didn't have the full team at the time. You got the Goblin, you hurt him pretty good, but then Rocket's stuff was done. And then you pushed the Craven, so Doc Ock gave him 1,000% speed bar, so he took a turn right away, flipped all your buffs, and then your Goblin dropped just a little bleed or a little hit from Gladiator, pushed the Goblin from 25 to 19%, gave Goblin 100% turn bar, and he just wrecked you. It all came down to Howard's passive, and I think that is probably what most people ended up taking L's to against teams like Super Skrull, like Superior 6, which... Like you were saying earlier, I think it's fine if it's hidden behind all these tags because then this team does so much speed manipulation stuff already.
Yeah,
kind of needs to be buried.
Okay, so I'm okay with this if for two things that I'm hoping that this does is that I'm hoping that they can win against Odin Illuminati on offense, and two, I hope that they are not impossible to beat on defense. Like I hope there's some sort of reasonable counter to him. It might be an expensive counter or maybe a 2-tap, and I'd be okay with that. But like, I just think Odin and Illuminati has been really annoying for a while now.
Very annoying. If you want to know what team I used to counter them earlier, which is unaffected by these changes, I used my solo Howard the Duck with Astral. And now that they're getting the speed stat increase, you have to include Emma. So I subbed out Emma.
All right, yeah, because you could use Emma somewhere else, but then now you would use Emma. I get it. Yeah.
Or you set up probably Moondragon.
Yeah, because Emma was being a great plug and play. Oh my God, she's useful in a couple places for sure. All right.
Yeah.
All right, we will see. So according to Dorky, as far as I know, we'll be able to see how this works on Wednesday. That gives enough reason enough to watch Wednesday just for this alone, right? To see how good this is, or how bad this is, or whatever you think. We'll see, right?
Exactly. Hey, and 700 power cores for the Twitch drop. So come hang out with me, Mobile Gamer, on Twitch chat if you got some time on your hands.
We are actually live right now recording this, so if you're watching the video and it was just released, we're probably still on Twitch at this exact moment. Okay, bye for now.